Hi.
Oh.
Guess what we're going to do today? We're just going to give Luds all the responses during the alumni game, which were many, by the way. We had several live chatters.
How do they know that?
They were in the AAC
watching
our post-game show on the DLS YouTube channel and chatting about your game and the rest of the play. The whole show. If you go back and look at our show from last night's post-game from the Stars beating the Blue Jackets, you will see amongst other things, a pretty good running commentary of the alumni game.
I just saw that one tweet right there. Do we have to go to the screen here where we play the music?
Yeah,
do we want to do that
cold
first?
open.
Or are we
get ready, boys?
It is Monday. It is February 3rd, and this is the DLS Dallas Stars podcast. We're live today from the podcast studio, and it's another warm February day in Texas.
Tomahawk City.
It's warm here in the podcast studio. This room, I've forgotten, Luds, it's been so much more, at least for North Texas, winter-like. So this room has been nice and tolerable. All of a sudden, thinking we should have brought shorts today.
My brother called me 2 days ago, and he was obviously looking at the weather. And in Wisconsin, it was like minus 20, 25. They built this big ice castle. Anyway, he was telling me about it. He goes, yeah, I noticed you guys got some nice weather there. And we start talking. He goes, well, we were going to go to Florida. What are you doing in a week or so? So I'm thinking that they might come here and enjoy a little bit of the weather. Yeah, but it's beautiful here now.
Yeah, and
if you're a golfer, which
for
I'm
about
not.
a week, it is supposed to get back down below freezing, maybe the end of next week. But, you know. This is, what do we call this, false spring in early February? This is the DLS Dallas Stars podcast alongside Craig Ludwig and our lovely producer. And yes, I do not say that to John. It's Katja Vialba, who is in for John all week.
Kat, don't you put yourself on the screen like John does?
No.
You don't do that?
She will talk, though.
I talk, but I ain't looking for the face.
Okay.
And we have Sean Shapiro joining us from parts known in Michigan, I believe. Although...
Yes,
I found he waited to ask me after the show started if I had the ad read that he has to do first, which is how have you gotten them before? How?
John emails them to me.
He emails. Oh my God!
If I had $1 for every time.
Oh my God! John emails you.
Listen.
Okay, this is absolutely ridiculous. Oh my God!
What were you just gonna say? This is what?
We've been doing this show for months. The fact that he gets spoon-fed the ad reads by our producer.
Y'all need to buy lunch for John more
My
often.
God. I had no idea. I'm not getting those kind of
I know
perks.
what you were trying to say. You were going to say this is bold sugar honey iced tea.
I'm not going to say that on the show. Although bold sugar honey iced tea sounds kind of like an interesting beverage.
Yeah, that's the next shirt getting made up now.
Oh, okay. We're just keep on going. So Sean is here. Luds is here. Sam will be reporting from practice in our second segment. We are going to have Luddy and Sean and me and anybody who else wants to join in do a little alumni weekend recap in segment 3. And then, boy, you know, the NHL never stops giving us things to talk about. We have a very fascinating NHL news and notes segment and a little video clip montage that, well, video in quotations, that Kat put together that I can't wait for everybody to see because it's violent and primeval, and there will probably be a suspension because of it. Sean, as I will let you start talking, oh, Luddy, he is going to uphold his promise. Go ahead, man.
I said you couldn't have Monday off because the emergency shows.
I know.
Saturday. But I did say beers on Monday.
He did say beers on.
Oh,
my God.
Wait. And I know Luds needs 2.
Oh, of course he does, because one won't do. Well, we got to do that.
Get back on the horse. Thanks,
Sean,
boss.
I'm sorry, but Luds will be drinking yours.
No, I believe it.
Hey,
I believe
cheers. It's Monday. It's on the show.
During,
need a
during,
Miller
during,
Lite.
I'm not going to complain about it being this brand. I'm just going to be quiet.
Yeah,
and
but
drink
as soon as he saw it, I knew exactly what he was thinking.
Okay, but
Or what it isn't.
what it isn't.
Yeah, that's okay. So
during my alleged ad read, or after my alleged ad read, I'm running to the
Can we
kitchen
turn
to
him
get
up?
beer. So,
Sean has this lovely thing where he goes in and out of
I know.
volume. Where
I know.
I think it's depending on where he sits.
that's a user
Oh.
error. That's clearly on me. That's not on Katya.
on
That's
him.
on that's on me.
Hey.
That's a
Someday that microphone we said we were getting for you will get there. I don't know when, but someday.
someday, maybe today. I'll look for the mail. The FedEx truck just drove by. Maybe it's got a microphone. I'll ask him.
Okay. I'm going to have to get you this copy. So while I do
I
that,
have
let's.
I have the copy. I found the
Oh,
copy.
okay, so I don't have to email this to you
Yes.
now. Great.
Yes, I found the copy.
Okay. Well, that being said, I wanted to start off today's show not realizing that our producer had knitted mittens for you, but actually talk about the crazy week that was. The Stars had to deal with an injury to Miro Heiskanen, a season-ending injury news for Nils Lundkvist, a return by Mason Marchment, and a trade acquisition of two players from San Jose in Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci, both of whom made their debut yesterday in the win over Columbus. And I have to start with this, and I'll go to you, Sean, and then we'll have Luds chime in. Are the Stars a better Stanley Cup contender after all of these moves?
I think so. I think so. There is, and we were asked on the post-game show last night, someone asked about peaking too early, and I brought up that you got to remember this team is going to get back one of their most vital pieces, their most important piece at some point before the playoffs, Miro Heiskanen. And I look at the Stars right now after these trades and how things have gone, where they got more depth offensively. They got a little bit more flexibility to cover for injuries. That will happen. And in the attrition that happens, Luds knows better than anyone here, you need that depth if you're going to win the whole thing. I think they added some key spaces to that. And I still think they might do a little bit more on that the more we kind of look at it. But to me, they are a better team and a better cup contender after the trade on Saturday because they've added those pieces that will help right now. And we see guys like Colin Blackwell, who's not in the lineup on Saturday. If that's the guy who's going to come in to cover for injury, you're in a good spot.
I'm assuming when you guys are talking about this, we're talking when guys are back healthy, when Miro's back. Okay. What about Tyler, Sean? Let's just worst case scenario. Something goes sideways, and Tyler isn't back in the lineup. Let's say he wouldn't get in until say the second round, which is fine. But do you think that with Granlund being here, would that be adequate?
Yes, because I look at Tyler Seguin as not coming back. I'll just be honest, right? I'm not saying he's not going to come back, but I look at Tyler Seguin as gravy. I don't really look at. He went on the season-ending injury. In my mind, Tyler Seguin's season is over. If Tyler comes back and works his way back in, that's great. I look at kind of where this team is and where they've gone, where they're going to have to play a long stretch without Tyler Seguin. So picking them as a cup contender versus whether they have Tyler Seguin or not, to me, is unfair to the group that's constructed. If Tyler Seguin comes back and plays, they're even more contender. But I don't know what Tyler Seguin's going to be. I don't know how he's going to look. I mean, that 2016 team, right, that Tyler only played one playoff game coming off the Achilles injury. If not for what happened in Game 7, they might have been in the Cup final. And that didn't have anything to do with Tyler being available or not. And it was essentially goaltending kind of failed them in the first 5 minutes of the game. So I look at this team where I assume Miro will be healthy. I assume Mason Marchment will be healthy, as we saw him play the other night. And if Tyler Seguin comes back, that's gravy to me. But I am not putting the Stars as a cup contender or not based on Tyler Seguin. And if he comes back, that's even better.
It's funny. I was thinking of this as I was driving in today and thinking about the Granlund ad and stuff like that. Plays wing, can play center. And then I started thinking about the rest of the group, the team that they have put together, meaning Jim Nill put together. There is so much versatility in this group that I really never really thought about from the standpoint of Stankoven can play on this side or that side, right? Granlund can do that now. Wyatt Johnson does now. Jamie Benn has done it. Dodonov does it. Miro does it. Essa does it. They can play outside of their strength position, wherever that be, right wing, center. Maverick Bourque does it, plays on the wing. So you have these guys that can play. It seems like it doesn't affect a player when he plays out of what may be called his natural position. Do they go out Sean, do you think they go out and that's part of looking at players, drafting them from the beginning, or making moves for them?
I think it's part of Jim's mentality, and I think it's part of his core that applies to it. I know one of the things that Jim is a big believer in faceoffs, right? He's a big believer that winning faceoffs is an important battle and can help define a team and everything. And it's why so often he's built lineups with lines where a coach has the tools to put a lefty and a righty who can both take the faceoffs, right? Like, it's one of the reasons that Jim has really thought about building rosters that way, right? Like, Jamie Benn is a left winger by position, but takes the amount of faceoffs, takes more faceoffs than most centers in the end.
Do you think that's more on Jim than Pete, as far as wanting to have a lefty righty on each line combination?
Yes, because it's something that Jim's done in his roster construction for years. To me, it's not that that's not what Pete DeBoer believes in, but Jim Nill, to me, it happened with Jim Montgomery. It happened with Rick Bowness. He was big on having the pieces where you could take, when that offensive zone faceoff goes to the left side or the right side, or more importantly on the defensive end, where, hey, the other team gets to pick their spot of which side they're going. Okay, we have the guy that can take it on his strong side. So I believe that is. And I'm making this, I'm narrowing this down to faceoffs because it's an easier way to talk about the large thing. Jim looks at it where he wants to be able to build the roster where multiple players can play different roles. And when you use something as simple as faceoffs, where it's like, hey, you might be a center, but you're not going to be a center, the quote unquote center on this line. You're going to move to the wing, but you're still going to do what you did before. It's everyone does what needs to be done to advance. And that, to me, goes a lot to the way Nill has built this team. And it's why that there's been times where he's waited to make sure players could do that. Like Matt Duchene is the big one, right? It was before, obviously Duchene has been a smashing success for Dallas right now. But in the past, there was a little bit of worry. Can he be that guy? Can he come in and be the team first guy? Can he step into a role where he is not the guy like that? And I know 3-4 years ago, Duchene would not have been on the Stars list. They looked at what they've done culture-wise. They looked at how they built things around, and that anyone who came into this group would have to accept that culture. And Duchene matured quite a bit as a player and as a human. And that's why Duchene became available on Jim Nill's list. This is the type of thing that it's such a vital thing for the Stars. And I know it's something where with Granlund in particular, when I talked to Jim on Saturday night after the trade, one of the things he brought up is Granlund had been on their list, but Jim doesn't. And it's funny because we saw one GM in Dallas do something a little bit different and not talk to outside people at all. But like Jim was telling me today, when it came to trading for Granlund, one of the things that, he told me Saturday, one of the things that trading Granlund, he talked to players who played with him. He talked to people that might have had a negative opinion of him. He talked to people all over the place to get an idea of who we're bringing in and what we're doing. And I think that just goes so far, and it just impacts the ice and how people are willing to adapt and cover for each other. It can't be understated, I don't think.
Yeah, that's the thing about Jim, and I think all GMs are probably, they have to be like that. But they look at it and they, man, what a great move was made bringing Granlund in. Granlund was on their list in November. They've been watching him since November, and
yeah.
The injury is what expedited the deal now, because it wasn't going to happen now. It was probably, I'm not going to say it was going to happen, and I'm sure he has 10 more in his holster somewhere. That if this goes down, that guy, that's how they, at least
wouldn't
Jim
be doing
Nill,
his job if he didn't.
Well, yeah, but I mean, just to be able to target a guy, and again, somebody that can play in the middle, can play on the wing, and that's why I'm like, do they draft that way too? Which I would think so. Why not? I mean, when I remember back, I don't even know what year the Olympics were, and I think it was Babcock was the coach. Didn't they bring in like 8 or 9 centermen? And they're like, well, what the hell you need 8 or 9 centermen for? Well, because they can play anywhere, and the best you think of the centerman that can play anywhere on the ice versus a winger is just been a winger, plays the left wing. Well, all of a sudden there's that versatility. Somebody goes down, we can flip-flop people. So maybe it started all the way back then. I'm not sure, but it's funny how these guys aren't just come to the job at 8 o'clock in the morning and watch the games at night. They're doing this 24/7.
I'm imagining just like coaches, GMs can't just switch their brains off and say, nope, 9 to 5. They have to be pondering this all the time.
And Jim is a good example of, I'm sure you've seen it, Owen. One of the things about Jim demeanor and the way he approaches things. How many times have you rode the elevator down with Jim after? I guess you were doing a lot of post game shows, so I don't know how many you times did, but ridden the
I'll
elevator.
see him more pregame than I do postgame.
Yeah. But after a lot of games I've covered in Dallas, I've ridden the elevator to the event level floor where the Stars top brass. And Jim has the exact same attitude every single elevator ride down. They could have won 6-0, lost 7-1, could have been an overtime game. The exact same demeanor about everything. Every single thing is it's very matter-of-factual, almost robotic in a way. Ask how your day is going, and that's about it. There's never any overreaction one way or the other. And to me, it's a kind of an example of his demeanor where there's always a plan. I know. There's always, and I have the read too. So I'm ready for it. You get one beer and you decide that you're all of a sudden just going to be pushing things around a little bit. So
well, you know what the clock is, and we're a minute past, and you're still going, and I see no off ramp here.
I need a clock. There's a clock in the elevator.
How do you not have a clock? So he gets his ad reads.
John,
wait
John
now.
emailed him
You're giving him a hard time, and then you're going on now.
That's because you are Mr. Clock, and I appreciate that.
Well, why shut up and go to your break then? Or
all right,
or
let's do that
is.
next.
Good.
We're going to have
Let's go to
another
the
rant
break.
from Sean
Go to
on
the
DLS
break.
Stars
Go to the break.
podcast. That would be you, Sean.
Right.
Oh, for crying out loud!
Like let's talk about let's talk about Sleeper. It's the best fantasy league platform out there. It puts you to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week or night. And tonight we're going to look at the NHL app. It's a fun little app to go through. I see Brady Tkachuk is projected for 0.5 points. I think he's going to have more than that. So if you think you can go and say, I think he's going to have 1.5 points, or that's not really how that works. You can have 2 points in a hockey game. If Brady Tkachuk, I know, Owen. Brady Tkachuk is going to have more than half a point, so I think that's a good play there. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends, like this idiot who's making an ad read right now. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLSstars to get $55 in free entries when you play a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest. It doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms for use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry laugh through the rest of it. And I'm going to make it worse because I'm going to talk about Shady Rays. And in doing so, I'm going to tell you they can get 1 or 1.5 pairs of sunglasses at a great deal. No, I'm kidding. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Usually you get both halves of the sunglasses, that's for sure. Great styles. They might match your team. Now Kat's laughing. This is just, Sean is just dying over there. Our sponsorships will be pulled because of it. Exclusively for our listeners, and I love Shady Rays. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Oh, I must say.
That's how Matt Dumba sees the ice sometimes.
What? Through cry laughing? Yep. Oh, amazing. Oh, okay. Ad break 2 have to be better than that.
Oh, man.
Ardell likes the fact that you and I are always laying bear traps for one another. All right. On a serious note, and Sean, this is a big platform here, Sean, because we're going to bring Sam here in just a second. You had an interesting comparison. You were just talking about Jim Nill, Stars general manager, to the just monumental news of Luka Doncic being traded to the Lakers, and how the Stars GM differs from what you heard from the Mavs GM in their post-trade press conference.
Yeah, and obviously the guys over at DLS Mavs done a great job breaking down that stunner the past couple days and everything like that. But to me, the Nico Harrison press conference yesterday, where he's talking about this, and we're hearing about things he openly admitting he only talked to one team, all those little things. There's a lot of crazy asinine things that came through from this that, once again, our Mavs show broke down. But the one that was interesting to me was his off kind of half joke, whatever you want to say, is like, who knows? I'll be gone. We'll be gone, and who knows where I'll be in 10 years? I might be gone. And they'll probably have buried me by this point. That to me just stuck out as there's one GM that works at the American Airlines Center who is thinking very selfishly about how does Nico Harrison win an NBA title? And that's fine. Like he wants to win an NBA title, and we can all disagree with what he did, but he did a move that he felt for Nico Harrison to win an NBA title. I often think about Jim Nill has told me multiple times. There's a lot of Nillisms or whatever, or that he uses, and one of them is he talks about frequently. His job is to care about the future of the franchise today, tomorrow, 5 years from now. That's his line that he's talking about. And the point is not that Jim Nill to have a healthy franchise in 5 years. It's the Dallas Stars to be healthy 5 years from now. Jim has a very looks at this role and this job like it is my job to treat it like I will always be in this chair and I'm always doing what's right for the next person. And that to me is a stark contrast to what Nico Harrison effectively showed us the other day, where it's very, whether you like the move or not, and obviously most people in Dallas don't like the move, it was very much Nico Harrison's words afterwards are very much, this is about what's best for me as a GM, not what's best for the Mavericks. And that is a complete polar opposite of the style of thinking where Jim Nill looks at how does this help the Dallas Stars for the long-term future? How does this make sure the Stars remain relevant and never get into a spot where things fall all that way?
Like you guys talking about Jim and the alumni game yesterday, and Tom Glardy was on the bench.
Stars owner, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, on the winning bench that they loaded their team up, so he decided to be on that bench. But Sean, do you think that Jim was close to what would be 2-3 years ago of not returning as a general manager? Do you think that was close?
I don't think it was as close as some people think. Like there was definitely some conversation about it, and the Stars were trying to. Like, it was definitely possibility. They had to kind of get things in order like they did the past couple of years. The other thing about Jim, just from a long-term play about this, is like he understands he's seen what happens to franchises where you don't balance that. Jim obviously comes from Detroit, and Jim and Ken Holland are close friends. And what Ken Holland did at the end of the era in Detroit, where Ken Holland kept putting those playoff runs, that playoff streak became more important than winning a Stanley Cup. And that's one of those things where I think Jim learned a lot from afar, a little bit from looking at what happened to one of his close friends who was a GM, of how do you balance this? Because there will be a time, and there can be a time, where you have to make the next step. And I don't know what's Ludz's. Am I being ignored or what's happening?
No, there's hand signals going on around here that I don't know what the hell they mean. So I'm just going to sit back.
We distracted Ludz while he was listening to your point. But since we have this opening, I think this will be a great time to welcome in our fourth member of our show, our intrepid beat writer, our little buddy, the Samando, Hot Sam, the Samboni. The names just keep on flooding in. Sam Nestler, live from Frisco. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, guys. I think I figured something out today. Every time you tell me to come on mic for a segment, that wasn't my fault. Get out of here. After you tell me to come on for a segment, I'm not blaming you either. It wasn't muted on my screen. I will say that. I'm just gonna come on the next segment for you guys because it's always a little delayed with the boys at DLS, but all good stuff so far.
No, you need to barge right in. You can't wait around here. There's
I don't
too
have a
many,
choice.
and I point myself in this attempts to grab the audience. You have to fight for it. You can't be too polite and sit in the background. So you're at practice today. To me, the first update is Miro Heiskanen. Did we hear anything more from Miro? Because you're supposed to see a New York specialist today.
Yeah, we did not. It was seeing the specialist today, so no further update. Is in New York, as we mentioned. So I would imagine they'd get a heftier update tomorrow in Anaheim, but no further update on Miro right now.
And what about Maverick Bourque? Because he took that nasty puck to the face late in the third against Columbus.
Maverick Bourque is pretty swollen, is how Pete described it after the game, and then waking up this morning. He did not practice today, but Pete said they don't think there's any serious injury, any serious damage on top of whatever that he has going on. However, he will be getting further tests. I think he said 1 or 2 further tests just to make sure there's nothing else going on. But the signs are good for Maverick, and I believe he is expected to go on this flight in about 30 minutes to Anaheim. So that's good news.
So what happens if Bork can't play against the Ducks tomorrow? How does it look for the lineup, which has some new additions, but we saw Bork playing with Duchesne and Marchment yesterday, and I thought he played well.
Yeah, the good news is I think Sean was just talking about how this trade above all else gave them some flexibility, and this is the type of flexibility it gives, right? They have multiple options now. They have Colin Blackwell, who was a scratch, who has been absolutely excellent. He skated on the fourth line today, where Bork finished after the game. They ran the lines today the same way they basically finished the game against Columbus. So they have flexibility. They talked about Granlund's going to be a guy they move around. Smith was back practicing on defense today, but that's an option as well to go back up with him on the fourth line. So they have flexibility there. I don't think they need to call anyone up, which is the good thing about having the depth they have now. But all expectations seem to be that Maverick should be ready to go, whether that's Anaheim or the following game.
You were asking me about Dumba and Smith before the show, and we ran out of time because we were talking about 4 storylines at once. I'm not blaming anybody. It was just fun. So would you care to share with our viewers and listeners your thoughts about Matt Dumba's game lately and Brendan Smith's game?
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we think that Matt Dumba's in the lineup next game? Sean? Sam?
I don't.
Don't be shy. Say what you think.
I don't.
He shouldn't be.
Okay.
That's what I'll say.
Why?
I just don't. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I think he's been on the ice for like 5 of the last 6 goals against. He's taken like 4 minor penalties. He's just looked slow and out of place, to be honest, in a lot of areas of the game. I honestly think Brendan Smith is a better option at this time if you're looking to just fill the lineup. And I don't know if Dumba is who they're referring to, and Elliot Friedman and the guys talk about the Stars. He mentioned the Stars wanting to not only bring in some help on the defense, but also maybe ship out someone on their defense to kind of restructure it. It just seems to me like that's the case and that's the future here. But for me, I think Dumba makes this team worse on the ice right now. It's just the way it is.
You have pucks over your eyes and a smile on your face.
Well, Elliot is very, and I know Elliot, so I'm laughing at how this is. He's being very kind to Matt Dumba
Yes.
by not saying Matt Dumba's name out loud. I mean, what team is they're gonna try to move out Brendan Smith, who has been like the only other person like, oh, they're gonna try to move a guy out. You're not going to move out Brendan Smith. You're not going to move out Lyubushkin, who's been played really well. Like it's the Stars are trying. They are looking to move on from Matt Dumba. That's something where I think we can say that pretty confidently. Jim Nill is obviously playing everything close to the vest on that. He's not going to give us he's not going to say that for real. But when a lot of the ways this stuff gets out through insiders and stuff like that, just to give people a peel back real quick, it's other teams talking about what teams are shopping and agents that are feeding information. So I don't know who is. I don't think it's coming from Jim. Jim isn't going and telling people that he's trying to shop Matt Dumba, but he's got to talk to other teams. And so other teams are doing their homework on, hey, what's Matt Dumba worth? How's this going? So it's Matt Dumba is effectively on the block. I think we can call it that way without the Stars having to say it out loud. And they are. It's a signing that hasn't worked, and the Stars are trying to get out of it and find a way to do it. It's not going to be easy.
I think for Matt, his biggest strength becomes his biggest liability. And what I mean by that is his strength is his skating. Unfortunately, his head is overpowered by his feet. And it takes you into areas that, like, it's almost like it's great for all these guys to be able to skate as fast as they can skate today, but your mind has to be able to control your feet. And when your feet are controlling your mind, it takes you into the areas that I say you don't want to be, or you do certain things that you shouldn't be in that area of the ice. And so I just think that until your head can control your feet, especially a defenseman, that takes you from good spots out of bad spots. And I do think sometimes it's a little bit from over try, only because he wants to stay in the lineup at times, which every player will want to stay in the lineup. And sometimes less is more. And, I think that becomes a bit of an issue, that you're trying to stay in the lineup, but unfortunately you cross the line once in a while. And again, time and score and all those little things that go into play.
Sam, don't go anywhere. because up next, after another fun, wacky ad break, we have to do a little breakdown of the Alumni Weekend the Stars just had, including yesterday's game. We'll do that next here on the DLS Dallas Stars podcast.
We've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fan in your life. Perhaps you've heard of Ice Shaker. Created and used by the Gronkowski brothers, Ice Shakers has sold over 1 million bottles. Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and will make the ideal gift. Kitchen-grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor like the plastic bottles do. A twist-in agitator that breaks up powders, but is silent when you shake it instead of that annoying ball. The agitator works as a strainer, which makes it very solid tailgating cup that will hold ice for 30-plus hours. All I can see is a hand waving over there from our producer. There is also, I don't want to shake it, it's open. The beer I'm talking about, by the way. They're also customizable. Send us your logo or check out our custom shop to customize your favorite bottle. Created and used by the Gronkowski brothers, which we already told you that in the beginning of this read, Ice Shakers has changed the game without workout bottles. That's all they need is more money. Order your team-branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use the code ALLCITY25 for 25% off your order. Ice Shakers, show your support for teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers. Did I tell you that it was created by the Gronkowski brothers? Okay, I just want to get that back in there.
My favorite part about Lud's ad reads is his commentary and editorial additions to the copy. Let's talk about Saturday Neon. Started by two college friends and buddies, which you would think are both. Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs, perfect for your home, office, dorm room, fan cave, or bar. Yes, Luds, it's a fan cave. Check out their new Essentials collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country and counting for only $75. LEDs last up to 100,000 hours. They, unlike traditional neon, they won't break or shatter. The LEDs are uniform glow that you love. Low voltage. They don't get hot. And head over to SaturdayNeon.com. Use the code DLS for 10% off your favorite sign. All right.
I actually thought that was a typo.
The fan cave.
Well, it should be an M, I thought.
You thought it was man cave.
Well, I thought it was a typo.
Yeah.
Like, you can have a cave. Let me ask you a question. When women come over to your house and you have a wine night, right? And you got the girls are all there. Your dude ain't in there. No, you stay over there. You watch TV. You see where I'm going with this thing? So anyway, I just thought it was a typo. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Getting yourself in trouble.
Not to steal a line from Seinfeld, but anyway, there goes the guy. That little chirping bird that's flying around the air, and yeah, Sam Bowen.
All right. Speaking of the Zamboni, Luds, you guys just went through the Alumni Weekend. Mm-hmm. And I say weekend because the Alumni game was yesterday. That was the pinnacle of your weekend, but it was certainly not the only part of the festivities. And you did something different. We talked a little bit about it on our pregame show and showed the rosters, but unlike previous years where the Stars alums have played another NHL club's alumni in a game here at American Airlines Center, you guys played a basically intra-squad game. And it was all Dallas Stars alums, a couple friends of the alumni sprinkled
from different
in.
generations,
but,
actually.
But it was it was open to anybody who had played at least one game for the Stars.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Razor's podcast that he does for the team. He was talking to Bob Basson, and Bob Basson, who's the head of the alumni, reached out to, I think, over 400 alums that had played for the Stars, invited families. And that was an interesting part that I hadn't thought of, is that, you know, a lot of times NHL players don't get into having kids and growing their families until the very tail end of their careers or beyond, and their kids never really get to see them play as professionals. Now, some do, and you get to see the daddy jerseys and the watching warm-ups and saying hi and stuff. But for kids that have been, you know, maybe with their NHL fathers growing up later, to see them play, even in an alumni game, has to be a really cool experience to see, oh, yeah, my dad was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's a different format. We played the Islanders. We played the Red Wings, the Blackhawks, and Rangers. Not the Islanders. This concept comes from the New York Islanders. This is what the Islanders do all the time. They invite you back, and they take care of your hotel, and everything else is on them. And it's a great time. But what was nice about this, and I wasn't really up for it, because I like playing against teams that I played against, and because I may not have been able to compete against them the way that I wanted to when I was in that time. but I can now, and I can own a couple of these guys.
The playing field has leveled with age.
It has changed a little bit. So,
are you saying the game has slowed down to your level?
Yeah, I think I've sped up.
There you go.
You see how I chose the proper word.
It's all the Miller Lite.
But it's a fast game out there yesterday, Sam. You're on the bench. It's different when you sit in the stands when you're on the bench, right? We're moving.
Oh, you guys were moving. I could barely keep up with the speed of that game yesterday.
Yeah, kind of like you were keeping up with your camera. But what's nice about it is, like, you got Fabian Brunson and you got Ryan Garbutt there. Sealer was there. So there's a mixture, and it's a different pace. Como, you know what I mean? So one of the Courtnells, actually Jeff Courtnell's son, well, he skates with us on a regular occasion, but it was nice. And we had a good time, and you kind of I got to know Ryan Garbutt a little bit more than, because when they're younger guys and you don't really know them and things like that. And honestly, my opinion doesn't change much, but it's nice to get to see these guys in person, right? So, well, it's out there. So, but it was a fun weekend, and it started with a dinner on Saturday night. That's a place downtown here, which we had a great time. And, Jim was there, and Brad Alberts was there, the Brass was there, Mark Janko, and so anyway, you can even the playing field, because when the guys that I saw yesterday afternoon, they didn't look as chipper as they did at the beginning of the evening on Saturday, and so you what teams you're on, so you immediately go up to those guys on the other team and you start shoving beers in their face yesterday. So we try to level the field that way. But no, it's a great time, and they're like, when are we doing this again?
Yeah,
because they come in and like Fabian, I wanted to get Sam and I were up in the suite, and I was trying to get him to come on today. As a matter of fact, not that we'd have room here, but I'd like him to come on because, according to all you guys, he's a legend.
He scored a hat trick in his first ever NHL game as a Dallas Star. That's kind of a legendary kind of thing to do.
Well, I thought it was the part where he never played again.
Well, there's that too.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, that's the other half of the story.
He's going to the zoo, so that.
Yeah, well, got to take the kids.
On the back
hey,
burner.
Sam, you went up to the alumni suite for the second period. I'm just curious what your observations were from spending that time with Luds and the other alums up there during the Stars Blue Jackets game.
Besides the part where he says to me, Luds, I've never met Joe Noondike. Luds, I've never met Al before. Luds,
obviously. You have to do it. First thing I'm going to say, I will share the stories that I can share. That's my first little asterisk.
It's
here.
A podcast, Sam. You can share whatever you want.
No, the one thing I will say first is I knew Craig Ludwig was a celebrity in Dallas, but he may be the most famous person in this city. I mean, just trying to walk around with him. We tried to go about 18 feet across the suite just to meet, I don't know if it was Newendike or someone else. It took us almost the entire second period to get across that suite because
they're all bartenders and bar owners up there. That's why.
You got bartenders, you got people that used to work there, you got people that are taking pictures with him. Everyone wants to talk to him. I mean, this guy's a celebrity in this town. I'll tell you that much right now. But it was really cool to be up there. I also understand why Luds doesn't like to go to games a lot because I saw the least amount of hockey during a period this season that I've ever seen. We're hearing the horn go off, and me and Luds are like trying to look and find the camera or the TVs and see what happened. So it was a lot of fun. Tons of names. I mean, you got guys like Eddie Belfour, Newendike's up there. He mentioned Garbutt. Caught up with Vern Fiddler a little bit, Eric Nystrom. So it's a really cool thing, and I could see how much the guys and the families and everyone up there just enjoyed it. That was the coolest part to see, was everyone's up there and the beers were flowing. I now know that Lud's tactic was to get the other team some beers. Didn't work out very well for you guys on the ice, but it was a good tactic there. I also loved Lud's chirping Eric Cole for his pass into his skates. I think that was the funniest part of the entire night for me. So it was a real fun time, and appreciate Luds letting me come up there and tag along for a little bit.
I mean, it was just it was a junk pass is what it was. I mean, you would think from a guy that was making $9 million when he played, I'm coming down the pipe, I'm going to tie it up and make it 2-2 and let that Brett Hull slapper go, and he puts it in my feet. My feet, I might as well have shackles on them. So it's not like I can tap dance around and get into the right position. You got to put it in my wheelhouse, and he did not.
That could have changed the game, Lutz.
In his defense, though, Sam, when Eric comes here, he has a good time while he's here. And so he wasn't quite on point, but that's okay.
Okay, well, we have a surprise for Luds. Kat, if you would be so kind, would you stretch our main screen so Luds can see it as much as he can? Maybe over the chat a little bit. That would be fantastic. Okay. Luddy, in honor of your big weekend, and I heard you were basically
I don't like the way these two guys are smiling right now. So just realized it.
We all do. You're the only one that does it. Sean Shapiro has offered to provide his best Craig Ludwig analyst's impression, and Sam Nestler offered his extremely high-level cameraman work, and we are going to break down Craig Ludwig's alumni game. So, Sean, take it away.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the video yet, so I'm going to break down Sam's camera work first more, actually. This is...
Notice Sam Nestler Productions at the bottom.
Now, hang on. Hey, Sean, before you say something, all these guys want to score goals, so I got to stay back for God's sakes.
Well, I will say...
He's defending himself already.
Unlike the other guy wearing number 3, you actually paid attention to where you're supposed to be in Dallas.
And watch what happens here. Hang on. Watch what happens. Nobody wants to come to my side of the ice.
Yeah.
They always go to my partner's side.
I was going to make a crack that was a really big gap, but the gap closed right to you.
All you have to do is be in the right spot.
You knew where the game was going.
I know where my goal is.
I want to know, what did you just say to Bob Basson there? Because Basson went by you and you barked at him.
He was barking at the bench the entire time.
You can get Bass going. You just got to stick Bass, and the old days come back. He turns around, his teeth grit, and then he takes his stick of it and he just waves it in your face. He waves it in your eyes.
I believe I've got a little bit of my.
I believe that's the first shift. Of the game.
I'd like to say two things. One, Luddy is very responsible, and he is the epitome of efficiency. No wasted energy.
I will say this, though, at the end of it, because if you guys would, I wish you saw some good.
Hold on. You want to? We have more.
Oh, shit.
So on Twitter, Sterling sent us another video, and it's better camera work than Sam. Sorry.
There, right up the middle, breakaway pass.
I was between the benches.
And then here's Luds.
Sam might be in this video.
Again, look, stops at the net, doesn't chase.
That's where you're supposed to be. This is not man on man. Look at who is that? Who the hell's at that puck? That's Turco. Turco with the mic on. Turco's he's not even talking through it. He just wants a mic on. He wants people to know he's still a big wheel.
I just love it.
Take the passing lane in here, and nothing gets through the middle of the ice.
See, Luddy, you went with chin strap optional.
See how you're talking? See how you're pointing? That's what you're supposed to do. What do you do? 45 seconds, get the hell off the ice.
Yeah. We would have. I mean, you know those heat maps that I sometimes pull of there's no shots against for his team in that area because
it's all ice blue where Luddy is.
But did you notice that nobody wants to come near me, Sean? They all go the other way.
This is a compliment. This is a compliment. Everything goes the other way. This is
the game is simple.
Yeah. Yes.
I tell the kids all the time.
Spent a lot of time in front of the other team's net as well.
Sam, let me ask you, Sam. You love this game. You've been it around I would say for a long time. Obviously not. What's the KISS system, Sam?
The KISS system?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sean will know it. Yeah, you guys will know it.
It starts with keep.
I want to see if Sella.
I don't know
simple.
it. I don't actually know it.
Sam.
Oh, stupid. Yeah. Sorry, I thought it was more complicated than that. It's the same thing. It's keep it simple, stupid /Sam. It's the same. It's the same ending.
We try to tell our players and players like me, not the skilled, the Heiskanens and guys like that, but it's the KISS system, and they'll come in and I ask them, they have no clue, and it's keep it simple, stupid. That's what it is. In other words, make the easy play, make the easy pass, take care of the ice, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. So keep it simple. What it is. So I can't help it. My job is not to score goals. I can't help it that the team was voted on the other side. And I said this 4 days prior when I saw the lineup. I said this is wrong. And then the worst part was, honestly, Sean, of what they should have done. Now our goaltender. Okay, we had a couple different. There was 3 goaltenders. Yeah. The 2 guys. One is the chef for us. Okay, he's a chef, and the other one don't know who he is. Kari Lehtinen. He played a little bit in the NHL. He stays at Gallardi's end the whole game. If you wanted to keep it semi-even, maybe rotate the 3 of them like we do on our.
And Kari takes up a lot.
He was good.
Oh, he takes up more net now than he used to.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had 3 glove saves.
But Kari was great. He was great. He's always good. I mean, he only
was
plays
great.
once or twice a year. He saves, but he was very, very good. Yeah. When Lindy Ruff was here, I wish he'd have been that good.
What was the highlight for you of the alumni game itself? Not the whole weekend, but the game itself.
When I got home last night at about 1 a.m.
It was that late?
It was over. That was the highlight. It's done.
It was a long weekend?
I'll see you guys whenever you decide to come back. Yeah, it wasn't a long weekend. It was fun, but what happens yesterday, there's a lot of things that are happening. All the guys are doing, I think you call them actions, or I don't know what he calls it. They got some fancy word. So everybody's got to be somewhere to do something. So I go up Bank of Montreal, and Ryan Mers, who's a big wheel at Bank of Montreal, has his clients come up there, and we had a room upstairs. And so I had Al May, Gavin Morgan, Andy Moog, Alish Hemsky, and Joe Neuendijk. And so what we do is I do a little Q&A with those guys. Ask me a few questions. They're able to talk about their careers and all this kind of stuff to the folks that are listening. So that's always nice for those folks to be able to hear. And, Sean, you know what one of the biggest topics was? And it started on Saturday night. One of our alumni guys had a fit about how goaltenders can't stop Ovechkin. He hates Ovechkin to start with. So I had Eddie there on Saturday night, and I had Turco there, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was just asking those guys, like, why is it? I mean, why? We know where he is on the power play. You know where he's going to shoot the puck and all these kind of things. And it was funny. Andy Moog, who's former goaltender, three Stanley Cups, Edmonton Oilers, things like that.
Yeah.
Andy started talking about the curve of his stick. And so he was talking about the toe and the heel are curved in a certain way that he can just let this was Alan May that talked about that. And then I asked Andy, does that have anything to do with it? He goes, yes, it does. And so he went into that whole thing. And one more thing on Ovechkin that I found out from Alan May. Well, you were there, Sam. You go ahead, tell it.
I was just going to say the same thing. Well, I think I remember the details was before
now,
every
everybody
game.
needs to listen to this and repeat it, Sam, because it's nuts.
Was it 235? Is that right?
235.
Yeah. So before every game, Alex Ovechkin squats 235 100 times.
Not 10 times.
The game.
100 times before the game. 235 pounds.
I wouldn't be able to walk.
Just to get his legs warmed up?
I don't know.
That would seem like a bad idea. You just burn all your energy
That's a lot.
Sean, have you ever heard that with all your interviews and things like that?
I am actively. I know someone who actually works for the Capitals right now, so I'm now texting them to hear a little to see if I can get a little bit more while we're on the air of the of what Ovechkin does during.
Would that explain why he doesn't have any speed anymore? He's doing too many squats.
Yeah, but this is his routine. I don't know. I mean, 235 100 times. Well, this is Albie. Alan May works for the organization. He's down there with them.
That would make sense for him to do like the Rod Brind'Amour post-game workout like
Correct.
that. And I've seen Rod in Carolina when he was still playing, just tossing weights around the room after the game, and I'm going, oh my God, I had no idea they worked this hard after playing a hockey game. But before a game, that seems ridiculous.
That was the part that was for me.
Yeah.
Well, let me go back to my original point, Sean. The blade of the stick, and why can't goalers – I say goalers. I sound like I'm back in Montreal again. Why can't the goalers stop the puck? And the easy answer is it's Alex Ovechkin. He's got a gift. Why couldn't you shut down Wayne Gretzky? He's got a gift. But when you know where he's shooting from every time, for the most part, why do goaltenders have such a hard time with it?
So there's two parts of it, and one that relates directly to the curvature of the stick is the point about his heel and his toe being curved similar. It makes it where that shot is unpredictable coming off the blade. You can read it. One of the big things for a goalie is reading it right off the blade of the stick when it comes off. And there's a lot of times where if I read a shot off a blade of a stick and if he's going off the toe, it's probably coming. If your guy's coming down like the right side, for example, he's coming down my right side and he's shooting from the toe, it's typically coming to my blocker side. That's typical. If I can see the stick location, because most curves are curved that way, where the toe is going to pull it back a little bit. Ovechkin with the curvature, when you have a little bit more. Now, I've never faced Ovechkin shot. That would be a great episode. I might not live to see it, but it'll be a great episode.
You should.
And we should get Sam's dynamite camera work to film it.
Please,
I'll cover the whole thing. skates.
Please hire Jeff Toads for that. If I'm gonna die, I'd rather have it documented well.
Would you wear a mic if we hired Totes for the next alumni game? Would you be mic'd up for the whole game?
How many times you want to beep it out? But yeah, I'm in. I tried yesterday, and Sam kept telling me no Luds, no Luds. That's why they came down and gave me the sugar honey iced tea thing.
Sugar honey iced tea. The microphone wouldn't work. He was afraid of having to censor you.
Yeah, I even saw him turn around and say something to you guys. Well, it's Luds. Like, what did you expect? Kind of.
Sam had his own personal dump button that he kept hitting the entire time.
Yeah, that's why it was on mute the whole time. I love it. All right, guys.
No, wait. Okay, Sean, are you done?
Yeah.
Did you?
No.
We went to break.
So it's just a TV thing, Sam.
We're talking about Ovechkin, Kat. Let Sean talk about Ovechkin.
I don't care. I'm not there.
Wow. So I love it.
So
all right.
So Ovechkin. Owen, let me finish my point. So Ovechkin.
Can you?
With the curve, it gives a little bit more variety where that shot can come from. The other thing about Ovechkin's shot, and it's the difference between a shot being fast makes it hard, but when a shot is heavy. And Mike McKenna was actually the person who explained this to me best from a goalie perspective. Because I said, we hear a guy's got a heavy shot. What does that mean, right? And it doesn't mean fast. A heavy shot, from a goaltending perspective.
You're right, Kat. I should have cut him off.
Yeah. It's got the rotation. There's a bunch of heavy rotation on it. And that's when you smell the burning rubber on things, when the rotation happens. That's the shot that drives through goalies. It's not, if you shoot the puck 85 miles an hour, it might get through, but it's the rotation and everything like that. And Ovechkin is one of those shots that it continues to rotate as it goes. That makes it so difficult. It is my fault.
It's Lud's fault.
He's like the Elon Musk of.
I'm fascinated by what Sean's saying, but I'm also staring at the clock. Sam, thank you very much. Thanks for sticking around for the extra segment. It was fun to give Luds a hard time about the alumni game. We will talk some NHL news and notes next here on the DLS Dallas Stars podcast.
See you, boys.
Bye, Sam.
But first, let's talk about Alex Ovechkin slap shots. No, actually, we're going to talk about the Die Hard program. Sean is ready for the logo and the QR code already. He wants to point at it. There he is, Sean.
There it is.
We have had an incredible response to Tim Cato's article. And Sean, you know Tim well.
I do.
On the Luka trade. It's a Die Hard level exclusive article, and a bunch of new diehards signed up just to read that piece. Go to alldls.com. Check that out. One of the many great things about being a diehard is you have access to all of our great writers, whether it's Tim, Sean, Sam, Clarence, Joe, Jeff. That's pretty much all the writers. Sam again. Sam a third time. And that they have great, very highly respected coverage for each of the big four teams in Dallas, the Mavs, the Rangers, the Cowboys, and of course the Stars. But you also get other great perks, including a free t-shirt. You could pick the Navy DLS flag shirt like I have now. Luds is wearing one of his softball shirts, so you can't get that. That's a one of one. But you get a promo code for one free DLS shirt from our merch store of your choice each year you sign up to be a diehard. Then you get all the access to all we were talking about. In addition, there are still a few tickets left for the DLS first ever watch party, which is at Cosm in Dallas this Thursday, 6:30, Mavs Celtics. Now I know we're going through some stuff right now with all the Mavs news and the trade and then what happened against the Cavaliers.
But does that not make it more popular that night, or people stay away? Come on, Kat, tell us.
You can come cry with us.
Really? It's going to be one of them? It's going to be like a funeral?
There was a coffin out in front of the AAC yesterday. Did you see it?
You're joking, right?
I'm not kidding. They had protesters.
That was probably for one of the alumni, just in case.
I kid you not. There were people outside of the AAC, right by the statues, mostly by Dirk, but they had it was like a vigil protest, and somebody brought a blue Mavs colored coffin, and it was like people were saying goodbye to Luka. Well, there are a few tickets left. If you go to alldls.com, diehards get 20% off. There's only a handful of tickets left, but there are some still available. So if you'd like to go see the Mavs show They're going to be at the watch along at Cosm. They're going to do their show from our studios, but they're going to race over there. You get to see them, and it's a really cool venue. Luds, I know you're trying to find a way over there as well, so it should be a lot of fun. AllDLS.com. Sign up to be a diehard today.
I can't help but wonder if you had a blue Mavs coffin, why did you already have that? Like, were you planning to be buried in it? Like, why would you have that already?
What if you're a coffin dealer and you can customize them quickly?
I
kind
don't
of a
know.
morbid conversation.
That's a great word,
especially when some people are closer than the others.
Is it condescending for me to tell you that that was a good word?
Do you want me to describe condescending or?
No, I'm fine. Okay. All right. NHL news and notes. Sean, let's start with this. I didn't even know. You actually let me know. There were 3 apparent injuries that Columbus Blue Jackets suffered in the game against Dallas. The most severe was the last one, and it was Kirill Marchenko apparently broke his jaw when he got struck by a puck on the bench in the 3rd period yesterday.
Yeah, could be out. We don't know the exact timeline yet, but could be 6 to 8 weeks, and that's their leading forward scorer, because Zach Werenski's leading the team in points as a defenseman and everything like that. But that's a big loss for that team, and he takes the puck to the jaw on the bench. I'm not an don't use the iPad guy, but I also can't help but wonder, we've talked about on this show before, we've talked about all the players holding the iPad up and everything like that, and guys aren't watching the game. I can't help but wonder how much Marchenko was paying attention during the game. I'd love to know the answer to that, because I sometimes think about that with Jason Robertson on the bench, and I know it's Jason Robertson's process, and he's put up more than 100 points in an NHL season because he takes everything in like it's a machine. But at some point, if Jason Robertson has the iPad in front of his face and the puck comes flying, that iPad's going to get, oh, wow, they got fireworks.
Oh, yeah. Put your hands up and get the fireworks going again.
Yeah, there we go.
You did that on purpose, too. You knew that was going to happen.
No, I'm not that talented. I can't even figure out an ad read, and I don't have a clock. How could I figure out fireworks?
Boy, you're telling me.
So, my Luds, Owen and I were talking on the show last night. Do you think they'll ever see a spot in the league where we get to full facial protection becomes mandatory? Do you think that's something we'll ever go to in the league?
Now, when you say full facial, are you talking about what Mason was wearing last night? Are you talking about the whole bird cage and everything?
Yeah.
Bird cage,
yeah.
you name
Yeah.
it.
I don't think so. I think that it's more the protection of the eyes, I think, is what they're going for. But, and again, doesn't that all have to go through the PA as far as agreeing to that? I don't think you're ever going to have, I don't know, majority. Is it a majority, 1/3? How does that work?
For the PA, for those rules, I don't know exactly how the player vote would have to go on it. Typically, some of those things go where each team has 2 reps and they would be in that conversation. And if it's something that's so important that it gets to that, they might do a wide vote. And if they did something like this, in theory, it would be done like any other equipment thing where guys would be grandfathered in, just like how Jamie will probably be the last guy without a visor completely. It would be, so say they put the rule in place for 2026, and they're not going to, but just let's pretend. Basically, anyone who played before 2026 would not have to do it, and it would just kind of be grandfathered, and is how it would probably work with how equipment things have been done.
If I were an owner, I would probably vote for it because I don't want to see, and I might say I just want my top 5 highest players wearing a shield. I don't care about the other guy, but I'm just saying I could see that happening. From an ownership standpoint.
Yeah. It's the one, like, I've talked to Panthers GM Bill Zito about this middle of last season. I was talking to him about things, and Bill Zito he had 2 rules that he gave Paul Maurice that Paul Maurice had to use. One, every player had to wear a helmet in warmups. He said, I can't go to my owner that Alexander Barkov got a concussion because he wasn't wearing a helmet in warmups. Right, like, so that's from the GM, where it said to Paul Maurice, that's the one team rule. And then the other one, no flip flops during the Super Bowl game. Apparently, at one point, Bill Zito saw a player almost blow out his knee because he was wearing flip flops during the pregame soccer. And so Bill said, put a rule that you have to wear closed-toed footwear during the pregame soccer game. But it's that's something where, like, if you're an owner and you watch this stuff, like, the Stars lost Mason Marchment for how long because of injury? So and if he was wearing a bubble, he wouldn't have been out.
I would like to thank everybody who joined on our television platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe here on the pod and check out alldls.com. Luds, take it away.
I get a thought. I want to nail it.
He was talking about the flip-flops and the helmets and warm-up.
Okay, I got it back. So it was 3 years, something like that, here in Dallas. And Sean, you'd love this. So it's morning skate. We get off the ice for morning skate, and I have a sticky note. Now, for most of the listeners, they don't know what the hell sticky notes are. It replaces an iPhone and a text message, apparently. But I had a sticky note. There you go, Sean. That's it right there.
I have a green one. I have green, too. They have green.
Okay. Well, it was actually on a blue one. Okay, I remember.
Let me see if I have that.
Yeah. Do you have a blue sticky note in visual aids here?
Yellow. Come on, now do yellow.
That's the one it was on right there. And all it said in beautiful writing is, Luds, let's get the guys together, a little solidarity. No clue.
No details.
No clue. And I knew who it was from. It's from our general manager.
Was this Gainey?
Yep. And so I see him upstairs. We go on for morning skate. Come back. What does that say?
Solidarity.
Solidarity. Okay.
His handwriting is probably not as nice as Bob Gainey's.
And that you guys remember in Farmers Branch, the rink, our practice rink, the GM office was up in the top left corner up there, and you can see when the GMs are watching. And,
you can do it in Frisco too.
All the other brass was sitting along the long wall there where the gym is now. The secretaries and all those kind of folks are up there, which was very distracting at times. For Pitch didn't like it, so he wanted the windows blacked out. But I kind of skated by the thing, and I did with my hands, like, I don't know what you mean. So he came down after, and I said, well, I have no idea what this means. And what it meant was he wanted more players to go into warm-ups without our helmets on. Because apparently they were getting, I don't know whether it was fans and stuff like that, and we hear it quite a bit. A lot of times you're like, man, I didn't know that was you. We don't recognize you with you guys' helmets on during games, which is understandable.
So he wanted the hair skate.
He wanted more guys in warm-ups for the game to not wear their helmets so fans could get to recognize the players, which makes sense.
I completely agree. When I went to my first ever NHL game, it was at the Colisée in Quebec City, 1994. It was Boston Bruins at the Quebec Nordiques. And when they came out for the warm-up, and I saw all the guys that I had never been to an NHL game in person before, and first NHL game. And I saw all the guys that I recognized from TV and in the hockey cards and magazines skating around with no bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. I think I was 13 at the time. It made a huge impression.
And you'd be
and you're right, you recognize everybody.
You'd probably be shocked, or you'd be in awe there's a big percentage of those guys before you go out, they're in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. They're in the bathroom combing the hair and the gel. I played with one of the toughest guys I ever played, John Kordick. Unfortunately, he's passed away. Cord was back there, and he had the spiky hair. He had so much gel in it, and it was showtime.
I have heard that some players will put product in their hair, even now, for the warm-up.
Yeah.
And then after the warm-up, go back in and wash it out so it doesn't drip down into their face.
But they have helmets on, so why would they be putting it? I don't get it.
They don't want it to get in their eyes.
But why are they doing hair products with helmets on?
Well, no. Do that if they're doing the hair skate.
Oh, okay.
So they do their hair for the hair skate and then go back in. I think even Tyler Seguin might have said he might wash it out afterwards.
Suave.
Yeah, exactly. So Marchenko broke his jaw, unfortunately. Dante Fabro left the game with an upper body injury. I think he got caught with an elbow in the first period. Zach Werenski left during the second period, but he did come back. Unfortunately, it was Werenski's shot that deflected up the stick of Maverick Bourque and hit him in the face. So it was a tough day for Columbus. The day before, it was a tough day for the Minnesota Wild as they got thumped 6-0 by the Ottawa Senators in Ottawa. Well, there's an in-person hearing today for the Department of Player Safety because Ryan Hartman got a match penalty for roughing Tim Stützle, and here's what it looked like, courtesy of our own producer, Katya. Face-off in the defensive zone. Hartman gets a forearm, the back of the head, and then ends up basically driving Stützle's head and face into the ice. And the referee immediately called the penalty. They gave him a match. They reviewed it. They upheld it. He was kicked out of the game. And in-person hearing, Luds, means it allows them to go more than 5 games for a suspension. What do you think about this play and what the NHL Department of Player Safety is going to do about it?
Well, the score probably had a little bit to do with it, but I think what pisses Hartman off is that Stützle basically rips the stick out of his hands, and Hartman, I think, takes a lot of pride in face-offs, especially against a forward that he would consider as a light kind of dancing kind of forward that shouldn't overpower me. And when he did that, you can call it, I'm sure he's going to go in there and say something about I was off balance and all that kind of stuff. But when Stützle knocks the stick out of Hartman's hand, he can't win the draw. And so in the same motion, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
He puts the forearm on the back of his head, and then he gives a little push into the ice at the end of it. And then he gives you the old stare up at the jumbo. Like, I don't know, what are they looking at? So I just think it was the time and score. And I think that the biggest part is that there's no way this guy should be knocking the stick out of my hand. I think it would have been his right hand and I'm a face-off guy. You got your legs spread, and you're one of those kind of centermen that feeds off and works off of strength and leverage.
Sean, how long do you think this is going to be?
6 games would be my guess. I think 6. My one other question on this, thinking about this. We had this whole stuff about McDavid and teams not treating superstars. Like, I can't also help but wonder if it's not Tim. It's Tim Stützle, who is one of Ottawa's better players, right? Like, it's one of those where he's going to be circled and targeted, and everyone knows it's Tim Stützle. If this is the third line center taking the draw, like, it's still an egregious thing, but does it become 5-6 games? I wonder how much of the league also becomes, hey, you can't body slam a kid or a guy.
Is 6 enough to send that message?
I don't know. My point is who the victim is, who the player that was slammed, I think adds a little bit to getting more attention.
I agree.
From the league.
Look, we were just railing last week on the NHL for not protecting its star players enough, and McDavid kind of taking matters into his own hands. This is what we're talking about. If you have, look, Hartman is a NHL veteran. He's been around a while, but he's also an agitator. That's part of his game. He's been suspended before, so he has the history. But if you want to protect your stars, and Stützle is one of the star players for the Ottawa Senators, then you have to set an example on this.
Yeah, I'm on the other side.
I'm not surprised.
I'm the dinosaur in the whole thing. I even when I hear in person, I'm like, really? I mean, I get it. I can understand the whole thing, and it's a star level player versus what you want to call, a grinder, antagonist guy. I don't know what his track record is, but okay, I could see a couple games. Honestly, I could see a couple games, but they're like Sean. It's going to be minimum 5.
Right.
They're sending a message, and Hartman is a dirty player.
Ardell thinks it's going to be 20 games in the chat.
God, Ardell, here I got a natural light for you. 20.
Right.
Didn't Chris Simon get like 15 for spearing somebody in the face? Remember that one, Sean?
It was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, and that's when. Now today I know it would be
I think Chris Simon played in that Nordiques game in '94. He would have been with Quebec, right? Back then?
Yeah. He started there.
So I think I saw him play in that first one.
Yeah.
What was the it was Quebec versus who?
It's Quebec versus Boston in the Colisée I think it was February of 1994. It was a 1-1 tie. I can remember that because
are you talking about that play? I thought he was with the Islanders.
No. That game I watched. I was in person for that. No.
Mm-hmm.
So Sean, we have 2 more things to get to real quick,
yes.
and I know your attention is distracted, but I got to pull you back
because
Jonathan Quick became the first American goalie with 400 career NHL wins. He's the 15th goalie to do it, but the first born of the Stars and Stripes. And if he wasn't a lock for the Hall of Fame already, this has to do it, right?
Yeah, I don't think people realize how few American goalies have that many wins. Like, I looked it up. Like, Casey DeSmith is like top 30 all time for wins for American goalies. That's nothing against Casey DeSmith, but that's just kind of shows
Ryan Miller was 9 short, 391. He was the most until he was passed by Quick.
Yeah, so I mean, Quick's won 3 cups. People may not remember he won the one with Vegas, but he was the backup on that team and for the cup run. And yeah, he's a credit to kind of continuing this career. I thought he for sure was going to retire after they won in Vegas, and he's turned this into a nice second kind of swan song or whatever you want to call it with the Rangers as a backup behind Shesterkin. So yeah, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame at some point. We'll see when it happens because we've had that whole conversation before, and I don't want to go down that right now. But Yeah, he'll be in there at some point.
Luds, last thing. We could do a whole segment on this, so if you'd like to defer,
but let's not.
We could. Trades from the last week, not even counting the Rantanen deal that happened before, but there were 4 trades, including this, in addition to the Stars one. JT Miller from the Canucks to the Rangers. The Canucks then made a trade for Marcus Pettersson and Drew O'Connor from the Pittsburgh Penguins, sending a couple players the other way. The Calgary Flames acquired Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost from the Flyers for Kuzmenko, Peltier, and a draft pick. And then the Islanders earlier got Scott Perunovich from the Blues. There was a little rush before the trade deadline, which is still a month away.
Yeah, the ones that stand out for me, obviously JT Miller. I mean, everybody on the planet, unless you're living under that rock, knew that Miller was going somewhere. And a lot of people. And we tried telling you, not you guys didn't believe me, but he was never coming here. It wasn't going to happen. And so he goes back to where he was before, and then first shift he scores a goal. Or I don't know if it was first shift, but he scores a goal. So
2 goals his first game, right?
I didn't see the second one. I only saw the first one. I think they lost that game, though. Didn't they lose like 6-3?
Boston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the sleeper pick where John had me pick Pasta to score more than 0.5 goals,
Sean.
Yeah,
he had 2 in that
and he
game.
scored 3.
3? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he almost had 3.5. He's not listening.
I am listening. I don't acknowledge jokes at me if I don't have to.
At your expense.
Yes.
He might have 1.5 points.
I know.
The only other thing for me out of all that was Perunovich, not so much for me. I've seen him play enough. But I like Peterson, the defenseman.
From Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I think he's going to help. He just does what he does. He's one of those kind of guys. But after that, Islanders, Perunovich, he's an offensive guy that has problems at his own end at times. So
Sean mentioned Elliot Friedman earlier. I was listening to his pod on the drive into our studio today, and he mentioned that Sidney Crosby texted Rick Tocchet, the head coach of the Canucks, and told him, "You're getting 2 phenomenal people," which obviously
means a lot.
Really cool.
But he didn't say players; he said people.
Well, he said you're getting a great defensive defenseman in Pettersson, and what a great hard worker in a guy like Drew O'Connor.
Kat, why are you laughing over there?
People, not the players.
Yeah,
well, but I'm not. I'm old school. Like I don't care what you are off the ice. Just do what you got on the ice. Do your job.
What does that mean when a captain, like, let alone Sidney Crosby, reaches out?
Well, first off, let's everybody understand. I think Talk is one of the coaches for Team Canada, right?
Sure.
Okay, so that's why there's an interchange, and he was there when he was in Pittsburgh.
A Pittsburgh.
Oh no, Talk was there in Pittsburgh. I'm sure they have a good relationship and things like that. I think it's just a. Yeah, I just think it's a shout out. I think it's a shout out. And Sid can do that now because the Pittsburgh Penguins are what they are. And everybody that thinks he's getting traded, it ain't Sean, right? It ain't happening.
Yeah,
just let it go. Let it go.
No.
I just think think it's just hey, I appreciate how this guy plays. I think that's nothing more than that.
I have a good way to tie this all together. On February 25th.
Perfect, because Lud's is getting antsy.
Yeah. February 25th,
somebody's got to be on the ice here soon.
The Bruins and Nordiques played a 1-1 game, and guess who played in that game? Bob Basson played in that game.
No way. Come on.
At Owen's first ever NHL game, Bob Basson was on the ice.
I don't tell him that I didn't remember that.
That's how we end the show. I'm out. I'm not allowed to close my computer like Lud's is, so I'm doing this.
Perfect.
All right. That's a Vegas exit for Sean. Lud's 3 games in California this week. We'll start with Anaheim tomorrow night, then LA and San Jose, and then 4 Nations break.
Wait, are we doing those from here? Or are we doing those?
We are remote for
those.
Well,
Kat's shaking her head yes.
Our games this week. Oh, yeah. No. We're StreamYard.
Really?
We're going to get the towering flames.
I got to get the towering inferno going.
No artsy shots. I just need Luds.
She doesn't want the artsy shots.
Damn.
Leave the producer to the creativity.
I was told by higher ups.
Well,
no
how about this?
Ben. That's GM Ben you're talking about. It's not going any higher than Ben.
I'm not naming names.
You don't have to name names. You already told me it's Ben again.
Kings are decent, although the Kings haven't been scoring lately. The Sharks, who get that neat tie-in with Granlund and Ceci just getting traded. But the Ducks,
I get to watch a defenseman to play.
I was literally going to say, Anaheim tomorrow night, you get to watch 2 defensemen. Do you go for the high-price Jacob Trouba or the half-price Radko Gudas?
Yeah, I'm leaning. If Mr. Nill is listening, if you could. But again, a lot of things would have to fall in place for that to happen. I like Jacob Trouba. There's people on the other side of the fence. I get it. I just like what he brings, and I don't even take it this way. He's a different kind of a Matt Dumba. There's when you come down the ice and Trouba's on the ice, you are not just focused on the puck and where I want to put it and things like that. You're wondering, where is this guy going to hurt me?
Do you think he fits in the Stars system?
Yeah, I know it's a little different, but again, is it bad to have a guy like that?
No,
it
definitely.
I think he fits in your top 4, and he plays against certain times, certain people. Those kind of things. He makes things uncomfortable. I don't. It's not going to happen, folks. I don't think so. I hope so. For me, I like the guy, but I think there's too many things that would have to fall into place.
We're going to sign off by saying, Andrew in the chat, I brought you better beer for the alumni game.
He did. Molson. I had plenty of Molson, and when I woke up this morning, I knew he brought Molson.
Well, that'll do it for us. A big show today. Don't forget, pregame show tomorrow. We will be remote, in case you're curious what studio will be. We will be scattered, but Kat will be running things. We will have a 9 o'clock Central Time p.m. start for our pregame show. Stars and the Ducks play in Anaheim at 9:30. For Craig Ludwig,
Towering Inferno,
Sam Nestler, Sean Shapiro, Katya Vialba, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks so much for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you tomorrow night.
We all silly like the mayor.